Good evening. I'll now call the City Council meeting for Tuesday, 21st of August to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Abity?
Here.
Altoff?
Here.
Carpenter?
Here.
Duncan?
Here.
Lundell?
Here.
Mattson?
Here.
And Mayor Robinson.
Here. Would everybody join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second City Council meeting for the month of August. This time, the chair will take a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved.
I will second that.
Motion by Ken, second by Bill. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carries. That moves us on to item 5 this evening, which is public input. Citizens may speak to issues not on the agenda. Before speaking, please give your name and address for the minutes, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Comments must be pertinent to city business and adhere to data privacy rules. No employee's name may be used, and personal attacks will not be tolerated. Hi, babe.
How are you?
Good.
Babe O'Gorman. 26980 Michael Avenue, Dakota County. I'm here, we talked about Public Works, citizen at large.
Yep.
Yep. And you were going to appoint somebody tonight.
Yep. That will most likely happen here in a little bit.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Anyone else wishing to address the council under public input?
Good evening, David Anderson, and I'm the Live Well Goodhue County Coordinator of the local initiative of the Statewide Health Improvement Program. My address is 1859 Woodland Drive, Red Wing. Since April, I've been working with a group of residents on a bike initiative. Our goal is to make it safer, easier, and more enjoyable so more students can bike to and from school, more children, families, and seniors can bike to and from community destinations, and more residents and visitors can bike to local businesses. To implement a successful initiative, we need to work within 6 areas: evaluation, education, encouragement, enforcement, engineering, and equity. Our focus since April has been on evaluation, learning what the residents, the children, the parents, the visitors think, and what we can do to make it safer, more enjoyable to bike in Cannon Falls. Tonight I'm here to share information about an encouragement activity that we'd like to host on Saturday, April 15th, called the Historical Slow Roll Through Cannon Falls. This is a 10-mile bike ride that is open to all residents and visitors, and I am partnering with the Goodhue County Historical Society and the Cannon Falls Area Historical Museum on the ride. We're hoping to have 10 to 20 cyclists participate. We will not need to close any roads, but we will be marking our turns providing direction arrows on all the turns. A secondary goal of the ride is to have the participants help with that evaluation and share information on what makes different sections of the ride safe, comfortable, what improvements we can make. I have a flyer here that I can pass out, and that's what I'm here to present. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Dave, if you want to give one to each one of the council members, that'd be good.
That's good. We need to.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Any questions for Dave from anybody? Before we move on?
No, that's good.
Thanks, Dave.
I thought you said it was on April 15th. Didn't you say April 15th?
Yeah.
Totally did. Okay.
Oh.
Since April on different things, but the ride is on September.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Delane Nelson. I live at 224 Limestone Road. When we built our home in Cannon Falls in 2014, we had to get the city's approval on the size and the style of our home and to see if our home fit the lot we were building it on.
Diane, could you speak a little bit more into the mic,
Yeah.
please?
I'm sorry, thank you.
Is it on? Yeah.
Thank you. We couldn't break ground until it was approved. And now there's a home being built next to us, and it has us concerned. We walk out our lower level to see a huge hill that was not there 3 weeks ago. Not only are we concerned about the drainage and the erosion, but the effect of our property value because it looks just terrible. It was filled in with dirt on Thursday and Friday, the 2nd and 3rd. We spoke with the builder on Friday the 3rd, and he knew we were not happy at all. And he said this is not a final grade. And on Monday the 6th at 8 a.m., we contacted the county and the city to let them know what was going on. Construction continued 7 days a week until there was a stop work order issued. We were told by the city that no elevation change permit was filed. The rules and regulations of Cannon Falls need to be respected. This lot, 200 Limestone Road, was advertised as recently as August 15th on MLS as a walkout with a full basement. Now is the time to make it right and bring the land back to its natural slope and build the home that fits on the land. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a question on that. Greg, what were the, or Sam, whichever one of you, what are the new conditions under which they can go forward or not go forward, or?
The condition is that they provide a grading and drainage plan to our city engineer and that the plan be approved by him. The plan was provided by the builder today to us, so it'll take some time for that to be reviewed and everything. If they find that the plan requires some changes be made, those changes need to be made before construction continues.
Well, I mean, I've gone up there and walked the lot, and it is, I can't believe that we're not requiring them to just tear it all out and start from scratch. But
Yeah, I don't know how that would change the look of it either.
That's something that the city engineer has to analyze and figure out what could be done, what should be done. So I guess we don't really have an answer tonight about what's going to happen with it.
Okay.
And Greg, will you have something by our next council meeting to bring us up to date?
Yep, like Sam said, we just got it this afternoon up in town, they haven't had a chance to really look at this.
Okay.
Sounds like it should have been provided some time ago.
Yes.
Are there penalties in place for failure to provide something before groundbreaking? Maybe look in that too.
All right.
Well, did he have the right to go and build what he did when
That's what
when a
I'm saying.
walkout was in the plans, or what?
Not without that approval, right?
So the approval was given based on setbacks and things like that. It wasn't known at the time of the initial approval that it was a lot that should have been for a walkout home. All single-family dwelling permits do not go through the city engineer before approval for setbacks and zoning, if that's what you're asking.
Is that what you're asking?
I
In any
invite
event.
any and all of you, if you'd like to come on up, I invite you to come and see the scale of it next to my home. So please, welcome. Walk in my yard, you're more than welcome to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know how it can be fixed, really. I went and sat with Delaney down there, bottom of her, and looked up at the hill, and it, I don't know how you fix something like that.
Well, none of us are construction, none of us up here build houses for a living either, so maybe we don't know.
We'll have Greg look at it, and Greg will bring it back to us, and then we can make a decision from there
Thank you.
on that part of it.
Good evening. My name is Steve Taji. I live at 300 Limestone Road. Just a concerned citizen of this community and also our neighborhood as far as the home that is going up on 200 Limestone Road. I don't know how it even got this far. It's a home that doesn't even have a basement, it's just on slab. And I don't even know how it could have even gone this far with, sounds like the approvals haven't been made and hasn't gone through the proper channels. That's just real concerning. And like my neighbor said, I would invite all of you to come up and see what it looks like, because it's just, we've all spent a lot of money on our homes up there. It's a nice neighborhood, and I'm not against these homes on slab, because they can go up there, and there's areas and there's lots for those up there. But this is definitely a walkout lot, and it should have not been filled in to have this home put on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the council this evening under public input? Okay, if not, we will move on to the consent agenda. Items on this area of the agenda may be adopted, or they may be removed and placed on the business area of the agenda for discussion purposes before approving. For folks at home, we'll read the consent agenda. Item A is adjusting correct claims for the accounting period ending August the 17th, 2018. Item B are the meeting minutes for July 30th, 2018 special city council meeting. Item C are the meeting minutes for the August 7th, 2018 city council meeting. Item D is appointment of Elizabeth Zimmerman to the library board. Item E is hire Luke Swanson for the fire department. Item F, hire Spencer Flodine for the fire department. Item G, resolution 2375, a conditional use permit for Jerry and Carol Cree on Hemlock Drive. Item H, resolution 2376, accepting a donation of $1,000 from Invenergy Cannon Falls LLC to the police department. Item I, resolution 2377, accepting a $5,000 grant from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources to the fire department. And item J, approved concept to separate assessment agreement, separate assessment agreement. And is there any items anybody wishes to bring down?
I'll bring down G.
Okay, item G, which is resolution 2375, will now be item 7B under council business. Are there any other items? Seeing as there are none, Chair will take a motion to approve the consent agenda minus item 6G.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Bill, second by Ken. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. That moves us on to council business this evening. Item 1 under council business is a roundabout signage proposal, and we got David Olson coming up to talk about that.
Good evening, David Olson, 6705 295th Street East. I'm here to talk about the signage that has started about a year ago. I guess really actually more than a year ago. It was about 3 years ago. But a year ago, MnDOT, Goodhue County, the Township of Cannon Falls, and somebody from the city of Cannon Falls and myself all got together to try to help the signage for Cannon Falls. In that meeting, MnDOT agreed to put 3 signs out, or signs out that said Cannon Falls next 3 exits. Also on the off-ramps, they upgraded their signage to advertise the local community better and also help direct the people on the roundabouts on County Road 24. The next phase of it was the county was going to help process some signage to help direct people in the right directions. I have businesses on both sides of 24, so I'm back and forth along that bridge a lot, and I see these poor people that come up from Rochester and they go up the on-ramp and they don't know where to go and they go right back down the off-ramp and we never see them again. So, you know, this is an important thing, I think, for the city of Cannon Falls and the businesses of Cannon Falls to try to get some signage done. The reason I'm here is Goodhue County wants to make sure that the city of Cannon Falls and the people of Cannon Falls want these signs and they have their approval to march forward with this. There may be a slight cost from the county to do, for the city of Cannon Falls to do some of this, but it sounds like the county is going to take care of the majority of these costs. These are preliminary signages. Right now, the ultimate situation would be on the off-ramps, we would have signs in the middle of the roundabouts. because MnDOT still has jurisdiction on that, we need to get approval, final approval from MnDOT to have that happen. But the county would like to do that, and I think a lot of us would also like to have that. Any questions on any of these signs?
Well, what we have on our computers, you're missing the yellow part that goes up, like historic downtown and frontage road businesses.
Okay.
That would be on that center. It doesn't show it on this one.
Some of the signs that are currently in the centers are not on these maps because we did not have those drawings from Goodhue County right now.
Okay.
These were just aerials that we took to help show some placements and what the signs would possibly look like.
Yep.
What's delayed this for the last year is some people wanted downtown business district and some people wanted historic business district. And that's what's been delayed this whole project for almost a year.
Sorry. That's not funny.
I think, it can work. I mean, I know Greg Isaacson at the county is willing to help do it as long as we can get MnDOT's approval, and then it'll be up to council to, once we know what the cost is, what we can afford to pay at that point.
My understanding that only a couple of signs, we need approval from MnDOT. The rest is county and city.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, more signage is always better. So.
Well, but they also, you can't have too much signage because if you get too much language in a short period of time, it gets to be too confusing. And that's MnDOT's concern, is they don't want too many signs. They want just enough to give people the right directions on which way to go.
Query, is anyone going to be, so when I saw this, I'm like, aren't there businesses and frontage roads on the other side of the road too? They're not right there, but like the McDonald's used to be a frontage road. So by saying frontage road, are you indicating there's only one frontage road, there's only one set of frontage road businesses? Do you know what I mean?
Good question. Yes. And I think part of the reason was, what do you call the east side?
The east side?
Okay?
I don't know. Well, I mean, that's north, right? So you
Yep.
call it, you call that west side. West frontage road, east
Right.
frontage road. Not to complicate things, you guys already agreed on. But there's more than one group of frontage road businesses.
Agreed.
Okay.
Anybody got any more questions for Dave on this?
I'm for it.
Long overdue, let's get her done.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's,
it's definitely overdue.
So I think next step is getting with the county, correct, Greg? And having Greg Isaacson and see what we can do and getting approval from the state, and then getting a plan together from there.
So for right now, everybody's got an approval to march forward with this?
I mean, we don't have to have a recommendation, or do we?
I would.
Yeah, we got a consensus to move forward and then bring back the final plan for approval.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, that moves us on to item 7B, which is Resolution 2375, a conditional use permit for Jerry and Carol Cree on Hemlock Drive.
I brought that down because the planning commission met and approved the building site for Jerry Cree, but with conditions, and I see some of the neighbors are here tonight. If they want to speak up about this, maybe this would be the time to do it.
Bruce Johnson, Hemlock Drive, I'm on Lot 9, to the south of the building site. And a couple of the questions I got are these suggestions, or is it, I mean, you know, are these, you know, you got this list of, you know, a typical 10%. So what's, you know, is it 30 okay? Or are these requirements that are going to be met, inspected, you know, enforced, and brought up to code? That's what I want to know. You know, I've got a list of all of the things here that are, you know, to pitch the driveway and the roof runoff and everything. Well, is this Are these just, you know, it says the following comments.
Mr. Mayor, I think he's referring to my memo to Sam regarding the site plan.
Mhm.
And I view them as what I would like to see on the project, especially when it comes to the drainage. They need to maintain the drainage on their site. The driveway, I list what the typical standard is. We have some in town that don't meet it, but I was pointing out to them that they should be aware what that driveway might look like with the plan submitted. Now, that plan does not have all the drainage information we need, and at this point, I have not approved that plan to be built that way. These were suggestions to give a further detailed plan with respect to the drainage and the driveway, but these were some thoughts I had that they should incorporate into that plan.
Okay, so then if he decides to go with this site plan, then what?
We'll have to inspect to make sure that those are incorporated, and if they
Will
aren't, they'll
be
have to address it.
inspected and, you know, it's not just recommendations or suggestions. If it's requirements that have to be okayed,
I believe
inspected.
that's why it was included with the planning commission direction that these needed to be met.
Because this isn't gonna work. I mean, I suppose it's possible.
We'll see.
Anything's possible,
Anything's
right?
So John,
But-
the planning commission, did they? I mean,
planning
that's
commission-
My concern is the drainage.
Yes.
I'm almost swallowing the mic, I don't know. I know we're getting new equipment eventually. I'll yell then.
Well, maybe Derek can help me with this, but the planning commission approved the conditional use permit with these conditions.
But yeah, all right, but are these conditions going to be required and inspected, or are they just, that's what I want to know.
Greg, are you going to make sure that these conditions are met before approval is given?
Because I mean, the
That's
driveway
his
right now,
concern, and I
according to this,
can understand where he's coming from, that.
Right.
Isn't the nature of a conditional use permit?
Yep.
Right. All the suggestions, especially number 3, relate to drainage, and it all gets back to you can't drain water onto adjoining property greater than the rate that it existed before. There's a drainage easement in the back of the lot. So these were suggestions to keep from draining the water onto the adjoining properties. The driveway grade, like we said, they're 10% is our typical standard, but there are lots in town that don't meet it. My point here is I wanted them to provide more information on that driveway so everybody knew what it was going to be. That one right there, you probably can't decipher if that's 10% or not, what they gave us. So we're asking for more information to give us, so everyone knows what that driveway is going to look like.
yeah, well, from where it is right now, it's more like 30 to 40.
I don't know if it'd be possible at that point. So that, rather than tell them how to do it, I told them some options on what needs to be done to be met.
Oh, that's my question is, you know, if it's going to be required, inspected, approved, or if it's just some suggestions, this is what we'd like to see, and nothing ever happens. Because if it goes in and it doesn't get done right, my property's in trouble.
You're looking for a definitive answer? Because I think what I'm hearing is it's a little bit of both. There are some conditions that will have to be met specifically. The manner in which they're met, those are the suggestions that are there. It's you have to meet this drainage requirement. You can do that in these ways. Those are suggestions. Does that make sense?
Right.
So it's a little bit of both. But if, in terms of whether the conditions that are expressly conditions supportive of a conditional use permit, those absolutely would have to be met prior to the permit being fully issued and implemented, right? Right. That's just the nature of a conditional use permit. So I hope that helps. That's helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, my name's Catherine Barsness, and I live at 6526 Cedar Hills Drive. I'm exactly north of the Creers property that they are asking for a building permit. And I apologize if I'm kind of shaky because I, in June, walked out my walkout basement to all the trees behind me had been demolished, and was told that someone was putting in a 2-story house there. Without any warning, it kind of took your breath away. And I just feel from the very beginning that the rules and regulations of Cannon Falls weren't followed by the Cures. And I would just ask that as the city council, you guys make sure that someone in this situation is held accountable. The reason that it came to the planning and zoning meeting was because I had called the city to ask what was going on behind me. I believe that they planned on sticking that house in without even updating you guys that a house was going in. And right now, as the driveway is, it is at a 30% increase. That water is going to go all over. It's not going to be able to go north. I've looked at the recommendations, and at the planning meeting a couple weeks ago, they did state suggestions, and I just want to make sure, is this suggestions or is it rules and regulations? Because if it's rules and regulations, then this family needs to make sure that they're paying the fees to the city to follow those regulations instead of taking suggestions. I feel like if you tell them it's suggestions, they're not really going to move forward with what your suggestions are because of the cost. And so I want to make sure someone's there making sure that it's right, because I have to live there. I planned on raising my family there. So just making sure that things are done right, someone's held accountable. This is going to affect more than just this family. It's affecting the whole entire neighborhood. And so far, it hasn't really felt like it went as planned. So, thank you for your time. I know this has been on the agenda since July, so here we are again, and I just thank you.
Thank you. So, under the CUP, I mean, these conditions that you suggested have to be met before they can move forward? I mean, why should we issue a permit if the conditions aren't met?
That is, the nature of a conditional use permit is that conditions be met that are laid out in the conditional use permit.
And in particular, in this one, the condition is regarding drainage and driveway. Be specific. What is the condition that these people have to, that this lot has to meet?
That they follow the engineer's requirements and get engineer's approval for all drainage and runoff.
Okay, and what are those requirements specifically?
The requirements are the list of ideas or suggestions that Greg has put
That's
forth.
not a requirement. Right. I mean, I see where you're saying.
Yeah, let's
if you
clarify
just said
it.
it's
Is it a requirement or a request?
Or
So,
suggestion?
What I'd like
I
to
mean,
hear is that we are saying you must meet these specific drainage requirements. You can do that in any number of ways, as I kind of reassured right, and figure it out on your own, right? We're not directing their building, but you have to meet this or you can't continue to build. Do we really not have anything like that as a condition?
The condition relates back to the drainage. The drainage can't go on to private property.
Okay,
It needs to be contained on the property or into a drainage easement
okay,
at the rate before development.
okay.
So no occupancy
requirement.
permit could be granted until all the needed conditions are met. They can't move in until those are all met,
Correct.
to the satisfaction of.
Greg? Satisfaction of you? And when we say that, so we would somehow test or ensure that no drainage is running off to an adjacent property. Is that what we're saying? That's how we would ensure that that condition was met.
They'd provide a revised plan from their engineer showing how the lot will be graded, where the lot sits, the building elevation, the driveway elevations,
Okay,
and swales and drains and such like that, so that it shows that it all stays on the property
Right.
or goes to the drainage easement in the back.
and that has not yet been submitted?
No.
And so construction is stopped in abeyance of that and waiting for that? Okay, okay. So it's kind of like where we're at with the other
I
property
mean,
owners,
should we
right?
table this until we get that information? I mean, we can't
Right.
issue a permit
They
without.
can't move forward
Until
until
it's
they
done.
have assured via plans that they will then follow. An inspection will confirm that they've followed, I imagine, plans to corral the runoff.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
I make a motion to table it. Till
Second.
it's done.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second to table Resolution 2375. Motion by Morris, second by Ken. Till such time as we see the site plan that's going to meet the requirements as per the engineer.
Right.
Any other discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. That moves us on to reports. Greg?
Just update on the East Side project. They're finishing up services this week on the western portion down near Second Bridge and Cedar Streets. And the curb that went in last week on the east half down by the school, we hope to have blacktop on maybe by Labor Day on that first stretch. But they're on schedule. The weather hasn't hurt them too much. And in a few weeks, they'll move over to Mill Street. And then once that's done, we'll be looking to pave them.
What's going on with the schools thing down that way?
Restake the cul-de-sac. I talked with Beth today, the superintendent. I'll send her a note in the morning, and I think we've all agreed on what's happening and where we are and they are.
What's happening? I mean,
Cul-de-sac's going to get built.
Cul-de-sac's getting
in the
built.
Minnesota Street right away. At the end of Minnesota Street, there'll be a cul-de-sac from Almond, so you won't be able to drive into the school parking lot anymore.
right.
And then there'll be a new sidewalk. The sidewalk that's on the north side of their parking lot, the south side of Minnesota, will extend around the cul-de-sac and tie into the sidewalk on the north side of Minnesota, so there's only one crosswalk into the school across their parking area as opposed to the two that were there before.
Okay.
At a split cost between the city and the school.
Okay. But it's not adding any cost to the project to do this. It's not adding any cost to the project to do this, is it?
No,
Okay, just making sure. I mean, because if it is, they can do it if they want it redone. They can pay for it.
Well,
it's included at the beginning.
Okay. Thanks. Mike?
A couple public works things. One, we've done some alley paving. That's complete now on a few different alleys around town. We do have had a couple complaints from Dakota and Cannon Street areas where we've done some water main repairs. So that's on the list to do in the next couple of weeks. So we'll get those repaired. And then the pool now is closed. I met with Haley Huseth to kind of go over how the year went. Sounds like it was a pretty smooth year considering, all the stuff we have Band-Aided over there. So we're going to have the park board meet there next month and kind of go over things we would need to do to keep the pool up and running again for next year. And visit that topic a little bit if we need to. Other than that, fire department business, we got our rescue truck, should be delivered next week. I got the word on that today. It looks like it'll be ready for pickup probably starting on Wednesday. So anytime after that, we should be able to go pick it up and do our final inspection. So let you know what that turns out like next meeting. And then the last thing, just to warn some residents again, we had a water outage on the east side of town on Saturday. And we had made a decision to do that because we have to close the school down in order to do some water main repairs because they can't have occupancy in the school without the sprinkler systems and water and stuff in the building. We didn't find the problem in our right-of-way. It's actually it's in MnDOT. It's under Highway 19. So we had to go through a permitting process with MnDOT. Sounds like that's going to take place on Thursday. So the school will be shut down again on Thursday, and the residents on the east side that are pretty much east of the booster station on East Side Park, and mostly Grove and Mill Street on those blocks over there where your elevation rises up, you'll see pretty much no water for could be most of the day on Thursday. So we're going around tagging those doors to let them know that that's going to happen for a valve we've got to fix that's under the highway. So hopefully by Thursday we have that problem taken care of.
Hey, Mike, question for you. I remember a couple weeks ago I asked you about why one of our parks is locked up. Have you guys ever looked into that?
I visited with Ken about that a little bit. Mostly has to do with the amount of time and money that's spent in the maintenance on that facility, that they're not comfortable with John Birch Park being open to the public all the time. Does run a pretty extensive baseball schedule in the summertime, so then you got to not necessarily shoo kids out of there, but someone's then's got to make sure that the people who are there to use it or need it for their games and whatnot. But I don't know, Ken, if you want to comment on that too. We talked briefly about it, but
There's a lot of in addition to the game time, there's all the practice times that they use it. And if they've got to constantly shoo the kids out for so they can get their practice in, it's kind of a hassle. There's also been problems with when, in the past, when the gates have been left open, a lot of trash left in there. People have let their dogs do their thing out in the fields. So,
But what about, like, now baseball season is done.
and they're
Why-
getting,
Why can't it be open in the fall? You know, I grew up here, and from a little kid up until my mid-30s, you could always go down to the field and play pickup games, flag football, whatever.
Now
It's
that-
a city park.
Yes.
We're paying for it, and we can't even.
and now the public schools getting ready for football season. So, and they've got their practices too, so.
Yeah, no, The game should take priority, there's no doubt about that. But I still think it's a public park, I'm paying taxes for it, and I can't go use it.
Are you gonna go play a flag football game down there?
I'd probably get hurt pretty quickly, but I used to do it a lot, and I'm sure the younger kids. There are some that do go down there, some of the people that have keys, I've seen in the past do that, so. I
Do the
just-
schools or the Bears, do they pay rent at all? Does anyone know?
School does.
The school does?
Yeah.
I'm sure the Bears
I
do.
think they pay for a certain portion of the lights. Is that? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we charge the school a fee for the lights.
Yeah, nominal.
But not for the use of the field.
Right, okay. All right, just wanted to get that out there.
Nicole?
Wow, it's short. Okay. So a couple things going on at the library. We have a book sale that's, we're bringing it back. That's going to be a week-long book sale in our meeting room. It's going to be this Friday through next Thursday. And our regular book sale prices, $1 per hardcover. I can't remember. I have it on the flyers, and we put it in the paper. I'm sorry, I can't remember. And so please come down and buy books. The last day, next Thursday, is going to be $5 bag sale, so grocery size bag. One of those brown paper bags. And then also I've got some fun news that I got a grant, a legacy grant through Selco for some bike racks that came today. And I'm working with Public Works to get them installed pretty soon. And then we're going to do a ribbon cutting and all of that. And I will be getting in touch with you all so that we can get that done. And I'm working with somebody to have a little commercial made that we can put on our website. And I'd like to get that put on the cities if possible, and possibly the Chamber of Commerce once it's done, because I really want to emphasize this because they're some cute bike racks and they're usable, and this also works in with what Dave Anderson is doing with trying to make Cannon Falls more bikeable. So now we'll have some nice permanent bike racks at the library.
Great.
Thanks.
Good job, Nicole.
Yeah, I spoke to Dave Anderson too about the bike ride on the 15th, and we don't foresee any problems from our end on that. It's just a couple hours in the morning. He's going to put up a couple signs for directions only, so there won't be any closures for that. We are currently in a Towards Zero Death wave, which is a state grant that pays for officers for extra enforcement looking for impaired drivers. If anybody saw any activity downtown today, that was an impaired driver that was involved in a motor vehicle crash. So we take advantage of the money that the state will give us to put extra officers on to find impaired drivers now through the holiday. So if you see something that doesn't look right, somebody's not driving real good, just call 911. Let's try to get that driver off the road before they hurt somebody or one of our families. So before we meet again, school will have started. It is a little different this year where the first day of school, the day after Labor Day, it'll only be 6th grade through 12. So we won't see as much traffic on the traditional first day of school, but we'll still have kids walking to school and crossing the crosswalks. Greg, will that be paved by the first day of school? So we'll roll the dice on that and hope and pray. And
I've asked, we have our bi-weekly meeting Thursday morning, and we'll ask again for an updated schedule. That was not a specific completion date item on the project.
so if it's not completed, we'll have officers in the area making sure that kids get there safely and around any issues. We'll work with the construction company, make sure that everything's barricaded off so nobody gets hurt around there. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Linnell?
Yeah, I just wanted to report that the primary election was last Tuesday, and we saw a very good turnout in the city of Cannon Falls and in Goodhue County. So we were very glad of that. We'd like to see a good turnout. And also, I just wanted to update you that we are working on a new city website, and we're hoping to have the new site up and running this fall. So we're looking forward to that.
Thanks, Lyle.
Yep.
I have nothing.
I have good dog park news. I can't take any credit. Public Works really can't take any credit for the dog park. It was the exhaustive work of the park board in, visiting all the area dog parks and taking best practices for all their rules and regulations, and really, I think, debating and talking about them at great length. So that is all done now, and so all Public Works had to do was find somebody to put a fence in and pay for it, and we have done that. So we have a bid. The money was already there. So unfortunately, it's like 9 weeks out. The contractor's timeline is like 9 weeks. I'm hoping they overestimated, and you never know with fall weather. But as soon as they can get to us, it's like a day project, and then you have a dog park. So look for that. And it's out by the wastewater treatment plant and the softball field, tucked out there. So we'll have a dog park, and we'll talk more about it here, I'm sure, as we get closer to the ribbon cutting, I imagine, and everyone bring their dogs, is my plan. So, thanks, that's all.
Nothing for me.
Well, after a little bit of work with Mike, MnDOT's going to be coming out and painting the concrete passes underneath 52. Get rid of all the ugly graffiti out there. Not sure on the timetable on that yet, but they're going to come out on that and get rid of a lot of that offensive stuff that's been tagged on there.
Good.
Well, I asked the mayor if the Public Works, if he's got anybody for it, and he said no. So at this time, I'd like to make a motion to for a special exemption and for Babel Gorman.
Got a motion by Morris? Okay, basically what happens is he's making a motion. We need to put a citizen on the Public Works Commission. We have an opening there for a citizen. We have not had anybody step up. Babel Gorman has approached us to do that, and to do that, because he is a non-resident, we have to have a special exemption granted by the council to do that. So Morris has brought up the recommendation for that. So
would this be for an indefinite period or through the end of the year, or?
It would be to fill out the term until they got ready to.
New mayor.
New mayor could reappoint, yep.
Mayor.
It could continue for a year, right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so, it's indefinite.
Yep.
So in addition to an exemption, a motion in favor of an exemption.
Right.
If it were to carry, then there would have to be a second motion.
Right.
And a recommendation of the mayor to actually appoint Babe, who had
Right.
the exemption in his favor.
That's by the city charter.
Right. City charter requires all members of all boards and commissions to be city residents, but exemptions can be granted by council.
Yep. So I have a motion by Morris. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
You got a second by John. Okay, any further discussion?
We never did a special concession for one of the guys on the police commission. We never did that for Lauren. just to throw that in.
But that was, I think he was already on there before I even got here.
Okay.
He was on there for quite a few years.
I thought we just put him on there.
It'd be one of the ones that you recommended here.
Okay.
And I don't know if it, coming from you, how that flows within the charter.
Well,
But
we can
it
check.
was- It was pointed out that he was not, one of them was not a resident in the council, moved to put him forward on it.
Same type of situation. Right. Yes. I got a motion and a second to provide an exemption for Babel Gorman for the citizen's position on the Public Works Commission.
So, if I may?
Yeah.
I would, in the event, I guess just for consideration, in the event the council, in their discretion, completely chooses to grant this exemption and appoint Babe to it, I will resign from the Public Works Commission for reasons that Babe and I have discussed. So that's fine. It's completely up to you. No hard feelings.
At this time, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 5-1. At this time, I would like to appoint Babel Gorman to the Public Works Commission, and I need a recommendation for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve. I do have one question for you though, Babe. I know in the winter months you like to go down to your other place in Arizona. How will that affect if we move forward?
I believe the charter says something about 3 months. You can't miss 3 months, and I will not.
3 consecutive meetings, not months, meetings.
Yeah, 3 days, yeah, whatever that is, yeah.
And Public Works meets once a month?
They meet twice a month. They meet before this meeting, every
Once or more.
session.
So I'll be here. I'll be around.
All right, I just do in the
Yep.
past, you always went and.
Yep, but I do come home too, so.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, got a motion by Bill. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Got a second by Morris. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Babe is appointed 5-1.
May I tender my resignation now, or must I await at a future date?
Well, you can tender it if you're going to, if you want to, and then I will take care of that from there.
Thank you.
At this time, of the resignation by Cedar as the chair of the Public Works Commission. Marcia, the second person on there, will you accept the chair? Morris will now chair the Public Works Commission, and Bill, will you be the second?
My only issue with that is a lot of times personnel and Public Works meet at the same time. That could create a
We'll work through that. We'll work through that.
work around that with maybe a different day for
Yep.
one or the other. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, we can work on that.
Otherwise, yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Everybody in agreement with that? Okay, we'll need a motion then to approve Morris as the chair of the Public Works Commission and Bill as the second council member.
Some. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Leaves me as the last person on reports. I'd just like to say it was a lot of work I heard for the elections. You guys did pretty smooth, so thanks a lot for doing that. Be careful out there. School's going to be starting here in the next week or so everybody be careful out there and support your local teams, because I know football season will be starting soon, so there'll be a lot of people downtown for that. So with that, Chair, take a motion to adjourn the city council meeting.
So
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll take about a 10-minute.